To be African is to understand progress as a story written in the land. For generations, our story here was one of nourishment. The soil was our first teacher. Its taste, its sounds, its seasons. This was our security. It was a living promise, whispered by my grandmother, that if you care for the land, it will care for you. The sanctuary. For this episode, I take you back to a childhood space, a place that I grew up back in Kitwe, Zambia. It's my grandmother's farm, now my mom's, as my grand passed away in 2022. And if I were to look back at my times here, I spent a lot of time in the garden with a lot of different friends that turned out to become family. And there were a lot of families that lived alongside us here. We've got this concept of development. And as you can see from this series and this, like the episodes prior to this, there's different forms of development, and development has to take into consideration the environment. And I think that we struggle to actually understand what the environment is meant to look like. So if I were to really touch base with the concepts that we are fighting and battling with, we've seen multiple people just opposite, us sell land. Our next door neighbor has sold land, and we've got them doing a whole bunch of mining activities. And if you look into Zambia right now and you look at the Sina Metals or Sina Metals, a Chinese company that it's been one of the biggest environmental catastrophes that the world has seen that's not being spoken about. And here we have arable land, farmable land that has been poisoned, and they've brought a whole mountain of rubbish. It's copper. They've turned it into like a copper refinery space, if I'm not mistaken. But you'll see when I get the drone up how close they are to arable land, and they've taken over arable land because all that was farmland, and nothing will ever grow there. And there's no environmental concerns because somebody's, I don't want to say it, but I feel like I'm forced to because this is now personal. Somebody has somehow managed to get some sort of money and be okay with us poisoning the land. But Africa has another more painful story of progress. A story written in lead-laced soil of Kitwe, where the promise of copper became poison that still cripples generations. The story is now writing itself here. It sounds like a crusher grinding the toxic waste of Kitwe's Black Mountain, coating our future in dust. It looks like boreholes from a mining giant, a familiar prelude to extraction. We have seen this story before. We know how it ends. There's forest that's around us. It's called Saviko, and they plant pine. Apparently Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, planted this knowingly, and knowing that he didn't want and genuinely believed that there should be designated mining areas, and farmable land should not be utilized for mining, because we've seen what happens when people mine. Is land becomes barren, it becomes impossible to use, nothing grows there, especially when you've got copper ore or cobalt ore taking place. So this episode means a lot to me, and I'm going to share as much as I can, and I hope that people watching can understand that this is, it's a bit tough to come home and see what we regard in Africa as development, but sets us back to what happened in Kafue when they were mining nickel, and now we have people with respiratory issues, and all of this stuff is just a repetition of history taking place. And I can only hope that the government, and the love for their people can look at what's taking place and somehow fight back. I don't know if it will happen and if series like this will help, but even if it doesn't, I still have to speak my story and my family's story and hope that our land will survive the test of time, and not be poisoned like the lands around us. So here,
The flowering is not a plant, but a resistance. This land is a classroom, and Kabwe is our tragic textbook. We are learning that development too often means transaction, where we trade life for ledger books. My family's stand is not a protest against progress. It is a demand for a different story, one where progress doesn't mean poison.
And I was saying to my wife, it's so funny how growing up here I have these fond memories, of all this beauty and these, all the mangoes are there. We still got the trees and stuff, but we never ever monitored, what the land was actually doing. It's almost like this ability for the human to think that they're able to just function and do as they please without understanding the repercussions of their actions. So like now, I'm looking at a lot of this stuff and I don't know, I'd say 95% of the species on this farm in terms of the biodiversity that actually is here, I probably do not know. I know the mango trees, I know most of the fruiting trees because they're easier to identify. But regarding a lot of the trees that flower, I wouldn't be able to tell you that right now. My hope is that with all of the conservation work that I'm doing and stuff that I'm getting into in terms of awareness, I'm hoping that I'll be able to go around and actually, not exactly geotag, but at least be able to tag and identify majority of the species and help regenerate and rewild certain parts and certain areas of the farm and help restore that soil, help bring it back to life. With all the activity that's happening around us, all the mining that's being, like the drilling, the mill, the guys who are doing all of this copper slate that they're refining, and there's like tons of toxic waste. Again, as I flew up, you could see those, you could identify those 2 ponds. When you see all of this activity, it makes you kind of think, well, okay, how long is this biodiversity going to last? How long are we going to have the birds, singing in the trees? How long are we going to have snakes with space? Because they're going to be squeezed for space. We see the elephant corridor getting tighter and tighter, and then we see that, that human-wildlife relationship just fall apart. And it's such a sad thing to see and to hear and to experience. And I thought I was going to have to go all the way to Kalalushi and find out about the pollution that they're going through and the effects of that big spill, only to get home and see the effects of the industrial takeover of arable land. And the reason why I think a lot of these guys don't buy or work within industrial areas is not because there's not enough industrial space, it's because of the expense. Because you get charged a premium for that space. But if you can buy a farm and then start refining copper on it, which most of these guys are doing, then it's cheaper land. And for me to even say that farmable land is cheaper than industrial land is it's bonkers, it's berserk. We should be, as I said, rewilding. We should be focused on food security more than we focus on mineral wealth that we can't eat. We can't eat the notes in a bank. We cannot eat the hard copper that we pull out the ground, but we can eat a lot of the fruits, and we can eat vegetables, and we can eat a lot of the legumes and things that just grow as well. Like we've got plants like wondwe that grow just like wildfire, and there should be some form of food security, but we lack that for many a reason. A lot of people will track it back to colonial times, but I think it's only so long we can use that excuse. It's like we have enough knowledge and enough understanding, we just need to pick the right people to actually lead us in the right direction. So I will hopefully get a few interviews and speak to a few people, but it's just, it's bonkers, man. It's really like, it's really messing with my head. And I shouldn't be this drawn in, but I haven't even had to leave the farm, and you can hear it in the background. They're still drilling, they're boring to see what's under there. You can hear it. If I keep quiet, you can hear the hum. And they're going about a K underground. It happens all through the night. I will record it at night so you guys can hear it. And they're going about 1K down to see what minerals are under here. And trust me, we know there's minerals, but as I said, just because there's minerals, it doesn't mean they need to be farmed or harvested, or however you want to put it, or mined. It's like, I'm on this farmable land, and the second we start to pull this stuff out the ground, it's gonna destroy the environment. It's gonna change the land, the land. It's gonna change all of this stuff. And we see what Kalalushi looks like. It's a ghost town. I hope to drive out there so that you guys can see. And the reason it's a ghost town is not because, oh yeah, it's just because people don't want to be around the industrial area. There's a lot of unfarmable land. There's a lot of noise pollution in industrial areas, but we're getting it here now. There's a lot of pollution in general, like air pollution. And just, again, we've seen what happened with the metals. And yeah, I don't know. Zambia, we got some beautiful stuff when it comes to security. We've got some stuff that's happening all over, stuff happening in Katambora, stuff even happening in Lusaka and Lilai Lodge, just outside of Lusaka, stuff happening in Mongu, with people looking at sport and trying to work as a community. But the truth is, we also got a whole lot of bad stuff that needs to be addressed. And I hope that this shines a little bit more light and brings a little bit more awareness. And in this episode, I'm doing a lot more of my own on camera, trying to, speak about these things, because I think it's going to take a lot of understanding, a lot of dissecting, because it's easy enough for me to point the camera at things, but I don't think we understand the consequences of these actions.
This fight is the seed. My promise to my grandmother is that the land will not just stay in the family, but that it will remain life-giving, not life-taking. This is the choice Africa must make. Do we become a continent of kabwes, or a continent of sanctuaries? We are the last line, ordinary people standing on the front lines, not for profit, but for the profound truth that some things must never be for sale. The right for the land to nourish its people, not kill them. My heritage is a bridge between nations, but my duty is here. This is the hardest security to build, not from the ground up, but by holding the line against those who would dig it out and dig it down. We are a microcosm of a continental struggle, and as long as the line holds, the seed of a different future, a truly African future, remains planted, and we will hold it high.